In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways we're having great success growing our green beans this season. Before we start this video, I need to know from you, what's your preferred method of preserving your green beans? Do you like to blanch and freeze them, or do you prefer to can them, or something else? Go ahead and pause the video and let us know down in the comments. All right, let's go. Guten Yardening, everybody. This wall of pole beans behind me is one of a multitude of ways and areas where we're trying to grow different beans this year. In one of our earlier tour videos, I talked about how we were expanding the number of beans we were growing, and really it's because they're so easy to freeze, so easy to can, and really an easy and quick plant to grow, so we can get succession planting happening even with our beans. And so behind me we have some really successful plants growing in a shaded garden. And that's one of the things I like about these beans. We have some growing in full sunlight, and we have these which are equally successful. Actually, I'm going to take you up close and show you just how many are growing in this shaded area. I would say the tallest of these right now is about 8 feet in height. That's easily where these are reaching up to. Now the trellising system runs the whole length of our raised bed here, and we have just these simple 7-foot tall T-posts. And in our other one that I'm going to show you in a little bit, we're using U-posts. And then this galvanized steel fencing, so it's not going to rust. And it also is pretty sturdy and definitely can bear the weight of all of these green beans. And all along under these leaves, let's come in under here, you can see there are so many beans in here. We've already begun harvesting here. There we go, look at that. We've already started harvesting some of these. One of the things I've talked about when it comes to pole beans is that sometimes they can be a little too tough. They can be less tasty, maybe a woodier taste than our bush beans, but this particular variety is doing really well. In fact, eating it just now, it's really nice and sweet and tender. Now I know it's going to take a little bit longer to harvest this way by cutting them off, but this helps to protect and preserve the plant. And remember, when it comes to beans, the more you harvest, the more you're going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and get these removed. I really like this size. I'm going to get these cut off of here, and I'm going to show you what this simple harvest looks like. Which you can see here, and they're a really nice length, this particular variety, and they're also not too tough. Now that first trellised area isn't the only place that we're growing our pole beans. Here in our main garden space, we also have multiple trellises of beans. And what's really nice is we have them growing side by side with some of our tomatoes, and they both seem to be complementing each other very well. Now this particular plant, if I were to try to stretch it out and show you how long it's growing, it's got to be at least 6.5, 7 feet tall. The beans that are coming in on here right now, you can see all of these flowers and all of the little beans that are just getting ready to produce. And I think this is going to be really a very valuable area as well. So we've got multiple places for our pole beans. Now we've shown you how we're growing our pole beans, and I would say that they're pretty successful in the trellising setups that we have. And I know that a lot of people have different trellising methods. Like I've seen some with the TP, among other things. So let us know what your favorite trellising method is. Now what we have here is one of our more creative ways of growing bush beans vertically. Underneath here we have a sturdy tomato cage. So this is one of the thicker metal tomato cages. And right at the top of that, we've taken some of this wire that we would use for our trellising of our pole beans, and we've laid it across the top of this. And then we have a couple of short supports that we had just in stock. These are U-posts, 2-foot U-posts that we've tied this to. So this is a really sturdy setup. And then we have our grow bag. And inside of our grow bag, we have some chard, which is growing nicely. And then all around it, this particular grow bag has these little pockets down in here. All around it, we're growing a ton of bush beans. So something like this might be a good idea for somebody who has limited space. You don't have the ability to put up a trellis like we've done with our pole beans, and you want to try some vertical gardening. This takes up a minimal footprint, and not only do we have chard as a second vegetable in here underneath, because we have some room underneath, we have cucumbers growing as well. So consider this as an option when you're thinking about bush beans. This is our new favorite way to grow green beans. And when I say it's our favorite, I mean by a long shot. In previous years, what we've done with our beans is just to grow them in our main garden space right in the native soil. The problem is they're low to the ground. You know, you get a lot of hanging down beans. that are hitting the ground. They're getting dirty. Not that you can't clean them off, but it's kind of a pain. And you're also limited by your soil. And we've changed that. This year we planted our bush beans in our hay bales, and they are growing so quickly. And the beans on here, well, let's take a look. Now, when we did a tour earlier, I went through all the description of these different beans, but these are our Romano bush beans. And let's see if we can look underneath here and see what kind of production we've been having in here. And I have to tell you, we've been harvesting off of here now for the last week or so. And this is a daily harvest that we've been getting off of here. You see all these beans in here? Look at that. So these are just one of the many varieties growing right here in our hay bale. Those beans were so full, I think it was kind of hard to see the bale underneath them. So I'll show you on this one. These are our goldenrod bush beans. And I'm going to stress this again. We've been harvesting from these beans every single day for the past couple of days. And we're going to have that harvest now because of how quickly, how vigorously they're growing. Look at that. We're going to have that continual harvest. These are our top crop bush beans, and yes, they are beautiful. The size of these, the texture, the taste, fantastic. Look at how spread out just these couple of plants are over top of this bale. They say that the contender bush bean is a great bean for our area. Got lots of beans on here growing in all throughout this plant. Look underneath here. Look at that. Beans everywhere. We're getting so many. Look at these purple bush beans here. They turn green when you cook them, but they taste so good. And again, they're all throughout these plants. Look at that. They're everywhere. And so we've been harvesting off this for some time. And here's just a small sample of what we just harvested out of those hay bales. And again, this is a small sample. And we're getting this every day. So there's something to be said for growing our beans in these hay bales, for sure. And this is going to keep us for a long time as we continue to get these harvests and we preserve them. Well, you see the results. This is definitely our new preferred method for growing these bush beans. Our pole beans are growing great. They have great production. And these bush beans, this is definitely the best production we've ever had for our beans. So if you didn't already at the beginning of this video, let us know your favorite preservation method for these beans, because we've got plenty on a daily basis, and we want to make sure that we're keeping them in the best tasting way possible. So give us your opinion in the comments below. We will for sure be growing in this method in the future. Now, if you didn't watch our video on how we prep these bales or the conversation about how we source these bales, we encourage you to do that. There's a link to that in the description. So many beans, so much delicious food in our future. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.